Welcome. Rounds 2 through 7 of the NHL draft finished today. Lots of crazy trades, lots of interesting picks, extending into the first round that happened yesterday. But one of them trades that really caught my eye was this Tony DeAngelo trade. Bizarre. It's bizarre. Let's dive into it. First, Tony DeAngelo had a career year, and he tends to put up a lot of points and provide a lot of offensive production. He's, at this point, probably a top pairing defenseman. You can have him in your top four, but you're probably going to get the most out of him if he's a top pairing defenseman. Can quarterback the power play. Doesn't play on the penalty kill all that much. He can. His defense isn't that bad, but he's more of an offensive defenseman. That's why he paired really well with Jacob Slavin from last year. Slavin's a defensive defenseman who's really responsible in his own zone. DeAngelo would just drive up into the zone and create all this offense. He's really good at rotating the puck. He's got a decent shot. It's not an out-of-this-world shot. It's not like a Zdeno Chara in his heyday 20, 25 goal scorer shot. It's not a Cale Makar shot, but it's a decent shot. So you would think the asking price would be a little higher. Keep in mind he's a restricted free agent, and pretty much every team knows that the Hurricanes aren't going to be able to afford at least one of their players, Tony DeAngelo likely being the odd guy out, which he was. So in exchange, the Hurricanes get a 2024 second-round pick. It's 2 years out. It's a second-round pick. Next year's third-round pick in Philadelphia is 3. So the lowest of those 3 picks go to the Hurricanes. Let's see if I can pull up the teams real quick. Let's see. They have their own Philadelphia's, they have Florida's, and the New York Rangers. So it's probably going to be a low third-round pick, especially because the Florida Panthers and New York Rangers, 2 of the best teams in the NHL last year. So there's that. And then it's a 4th-round pick from this year where they drafted Simon Forsmark. So it's a very, the Hurricanes didn't get a whole lot for DeAngelo. To think that Toronto paid their first-round pick to give up Mrazek's contract, this is it's impressive. It's like the Hurricanes just wanted to get rid of him. They wanted to get rid of the problem. Their problem of signing him or whatever. We don't have any reports of how he was in the locker room or towards other players. Maybe that comes out at some point that there was. Maybe it comes out that there was no issue and it was purely just a financial situation. It'll be interesting to see. But in exchange, the Flyers get Tony DeAngelo and a seventh round pick. They drafted Alexis Argendron. He's a right winger, played in the QJML, the Quebec Junior League, and played pretty well. But it was also the Junior League, so we'll see. We'll see if that turns out to be a steal, or I think it's an interesting pick. It's intriguing. It's probably my favorite pick of the entire 7th round. I'm not going to lie. But the weird thing is, well, there's 2 weird things. First is the contract speculation. Nothing's official yet. There have been a lot of reports saying that DeAngelo and the Flyers have a 2-year deal in place for $5 million of an annual average value. The term I can understand. It's a short term. You want to make sure he's gonna be acclimated to Philadelphia culture. He's not going to cause any locker room issues like he has with the Rangers, the Coyotes. In his minor league days, I feel like there was one more team. There might not have been. Doesn't matter. He has a history, so I understand the term. You don't want to take a risk. Should he be a locker room nuisance and really bring down the team morale? That way, worst case scenario, it's only 4 years if you have to buy him out right away. Hopefully that's not the case. The other thing is, the Flyers hired John Tortorella. Probably one of the most intense coaches in the NHL, at least in the modern era. he'll get down and on a player. It's a really old school mentality, and I think if there's any coach in the NHL that can really handle Tony DeAngelo, it will be Tortorella. It'll be an interesting relationship. It really depends on how receptive DeAngelo is to that style of coaching. I don't know how many coaches he's had that have been like that. Brendan Moore in Carolina gives the impression he can be tougher on his players, and he can be, but to an extent. He's more of a players guy. Does a lot of events with his players. Spends a lot of time with his players. He's a players coach. Tortorella, you're not going to see Tortorella barbecuing during like on like having a Christmas barbecue in like Florida with the Flyers team. You're not going to see that. It's a very different coaching style. So it's intriguing. I kind of applaud the Philadelphia for not giving up a lot for a risky player and being able to sign him or give him a cheaper extension with low risk. And you get a 7th round draft pick in exchange. Cool. But you also have the coach that can manage those locker room pests. So we'll see. Tony DeAngelo is either going to be a great player after this, he's going to have a long, flourishing NHL career, or he's going to be pretty much shunned from the NHL at this point. It's my opinion, because of the number of incidents he's had, because he only spent one season in Carolina, and it was a good season. This will be at least the 3rd NHL team he's had a severe issue with, should that happen. And that doesn't include pre-NHL, his minor and junior leagues. So it's interesting, it's intriguing. This one really caught my eye. There's kind of a lot to this. DeAngelo and Tortorella, that'll be an interesting relationship. DeAngelo's alleged contract, that was interesting, because you would think a guy who has the talent and skill that DeAngelo has would be paid upwards in the $7 to $9.5 million range for 6 to 8 years. So that's already a bargain of a contract if you're just paying for his skill and his talent. You didn't give up much to get him, and you have the coach that can manage him and isn't afraid to bench him, regardless. If DeAngelo is being a jerk one day, Tortorella will not hesitate he does not hesitate to bench his star players, and I respect that actually quite a bit. A lot of coaches will let their players play even though they're putting in no effort on the ice. They're not trying. They clearly couldn't bother to be playing hockey on that given night. Tortorella will bench him. No, you got to do better, man. This is this is not okay. So that's kind of where Torts comes from. So we'll see. DeAngelo, again, he has his fits on the ice. You can tell it's very obvious when he doesn't want to play, or he's just ready for the game to be over. It's out of touch if they're getting blown out, or an incident happened or something. That's a case in Philadelphia now where he's going to be benched for at least the rest of the game. And depending on how many instances, it could be healthy scratches. Like, we'll see how that goes. But that's just, again, speaking the worst of DeAngelo. He could have turned a corner. He could be a nicer guy. He could be a pleasant tree to have in the locker room. Maybe even develop into a leader at some point. We'll see. Really interesting trade. I got my Locos hat on. This is it's crazy. I think this is the most intriguing deal that has happened. In my eyes, there's a lot of big stories. For me personally, I think this is one of the biggest stories that has come out of draft day. Shane Wright going forth is another story. There's so many. Husso getting signed is huge for Detroit. We'll see if he can have his playoff success in Detroit should they make the playoffs. I think that's a huge pickup for Detroit, and you're only paying a 3rd round pick for that. That's a steal. We got Toronto sacrificing their 1st round pick just to dump Mrazek's contract. And the Blackhawks, they're rebuilding. They're willing to take on a goalie, but they also are willing to take on a contract that a team doesn't want. But they also need a goalie. this really works out for the Blackhawks and Mrazek. Mrazek will get a chance to start quite a bit and prove he's an NHL goalie. It's going to be Mrazek and Lakinen. I can never say his name right, in Chicago. So that's kind of bizarre. You had the Blackhawks fire sailing DeBrincat, Kirby Dach, Romanov to the Islanders from the Canadiens in exchange for a first-round pick was kind of crazy as a big deal. I really like Romanov. I'm glad I can cheer for him now because he's not on the Canadiens, because I am a Bruins fan. It hurts to wear the Flyers jersey and give them credit. I think they did a great job with this trade. I think Tortorella is the best coach for DeAngelo to keep him in check, to make him an NHL player, at least off the ice if he is not already, to keep DeAngelo from reverting back to his old ways and habits, to keep DeAngelo earning his money. I don't know. It's just, I think the Flyers did a lot right with this. We'll see if they can keep moving in that direction. Yeah, that's it for this. This is a crazy trade. A lot of craziness has happened, but this really, I don't know. It still kind of blows my mind, in a good way. I think the Canes benefit with picks, with somebody they probably weren't going to be able to afford to re-sign anyway. The Flyers get a risky defensive player, but at a cheap, low-term, low-price cost. Price in terms of the contract and what they had to give up to obtain this high-skill, high-talent, high-caliber player. Yeah. All right. That's pretty much it. I'm kind of on the fence of if I'm going to do other videos related to trade deadline, or, draft day. We'll see. All right. Stay tuned. Take care. Thanks for watching.